Hey everyone, welcome. All right, so today we're going to jump into something super important. The legal nuts and bolts of how authorities in India can actually make you hand over evidence. It's a topic that hits right at the intersection of privacy, investigation, and state power. So let's get right into it and break down how this all works.
All right, let's kick things off with a big one, a question you've probably wondered about. Can a police officer or a court legally order you to hand over your phone, your laptop, or even a letter that's in the mail? And the short answer? Yep, they can. But, and this is a big but, it's not a free-for-all. The process is really specific and it's all laid out in the law.
And that's exactly what we're going to break down today. We're looking at the specific legal tools that are used to demand evidence. We're not talking about some random grab. There's a real, formal, and structured process behind it.
So the main tool in their toolkit, the one they turn to most often, is something called Section 94. You can think of it as the go-to rule, the foundational power that investigators use when they believe a particular item is absolutely essential for their case. And this power has a specific name, a summons to produce. So what on earth does that actually mean? Well, it's basically a formal, written demand. This isn't just a friendly ask. It's a legal order that tells a person, hey, you have something we need for this investigation, and you need to bring it to this place at this time.
Okay, now this is where it gets really interesting, because look at how wide-ranging this power is. See, it's not just a court that can issue a summons, but also the officer in charge of a police station. And the what? Wow, it's documents. Sure, any other thing, which is super broad. But here's the kicker for our lives today. Electronic communications and communication devices. That explicitly means your phone, your laptop, and all the data on them. But, and this is really important, this power isn't unlimited. There's some crucial fine print here about what you have to do, and just as importantly, what your rights are. So let's break that down.
Okay, so here's the deal. On one hand, you have the requirement. Yep, you got to produce the item. But check this out. There's a really convenient catch in subsection 2. If the summons is just about producing something, you don't actually have to show up in person. You can just send it over or have it delivered, and boom, you've done your part legally.
And this is huge, because it shows there are clear lines they can't cross. Section 94 literally says it doesn't apply to a few protected categories. This covers things like confidential chats with your lawyer, certain bank records, and, notice that last one, anything that's currently in the hands of the postal authorities.
So that last bullet point, that's our perfect segue. Because since you can't use a regular summons on mail, the law created a whole different set of rules just for it. And that brings us to Section 95.
So what's the big difference? It's pretty simple, actually. Unlike that direct power from a Section 94 summons, getting something out of the postal system involves more checks and balances. There's an extra layer of oversight built right in.
So, how does this extra oversight actually work? Well, it's basically a two-step dance. Step 1, a police authority can tell the post office, hey, find this letter and hold on to it for us. But, and this is key, they can't just take it. That's where step 2 comes in. Only a higher authority, like a magistrate or a court, can give the final green light to actually hand over that mail for the investigation. See? It's a whole chain of command.
All right, so we've got these two different tools, right? The very broad summons under Section 94 and the more careful two-step process for mailing under Section 95, which naturally leads us to the big question. How do these two stack up against each other in today's world?
So let's put it plainly, a summons versus a postal order. Which one has the bigger, more direct impact on our lives right now in the digital age?
And really, the answer is a no-brainer. It's the summons to produce under Section 94, hands down. Why? Simple. Our lives aren't in letters anymore, are they? They're on our phones, our laptops. That's where all the important, sensitive, and crucial stuff is. And Section 94 is the law that speaks directly to that digital reality.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. The proof is right there in the legal text. You can see how the law was updated to include that exact wording, electronic communication, including communication devices. That phrase right there, that's what gives this section its modern-day superpower. It's why it's so incredibly relevant and important today.
So where does that leave us? The law has definitely caught up, at least for now, to bring our digital world into the picture. But, technology moves at a crazy speed, right? So the real, ongoing challenge is making sure these laws always find that sweet spot, that perfect balance between letting investigators do their job and protecting our fundamental right to privacy. What will that balance look like 5, 10 years from now? That's really the big question to think about. Thanks so much for joining me.